To me, gender dysphoria feels a lot like how anxiety feels. It feels like a knot between my ribs, just above my stomach. Feels like nausea. I feel like I want to hide, I feel like I want to run away, and I feel like I don't want anybody to look at me.
So when he was young, we had a good connection, but on the years that was leading up to this, it wasn't the same connection that we had before, and he was withdrawn a little bit, and he wasn't communicating with us very well, and the relationship that he had with friends is also not the same.
Transgender is a term that is used to describe someone whose internal sense of identity is different than what their anatomy might be or the gender that they were assigned at birth. And gender dysphoria generally refers to someone's feeling of that discord between their sense of identity and then the way society views them.
I first knew I was trans when I was pretty young, I think around 8. And the first time I had an idea of it was when I was interacting with some friend who mistakenly at that time referred to me in passing, saying like, oh, he did this thing. And in that moment, I didn't really process it. And so my first reaction was to say, you know, oh, I don't really care what you refer to me as, when he tried to apologize. When I was a little bit older, when I was around 12, I saw a character in a TV show who was trans. And that was the first time I was able to kind of put a word to it and really understand what I was feeling. What scared me most about coming out was definitely telling my parents and seeing how they would react. I was really, really nervous about potentially getting kicked out, having them have a bad reaction, things like that. I was really afraid of how my immediate community would react, my Indian community. And so when I did come out to them, I had like a phone sitting outside of their room, just ready to go in case I needed to call anybody.
So when Yvonne came out to us, I was pretty shocked, and then there were a lot of emotions going through us. The first thing that really popped out was, what am I going to do? What are we going to do? I don't know any other adult transgender person in real life, and I haven't seen one. And I am not sure how this is going to show up in life, and how he's going to survive in the community, in the school, and how this is all going to reflect in the life. So I accepted Yvonne with his gender change. That is not even a question for me. He already told us that he knows what he's going to be, and then this is what he wants to present himself, and I'm all on board with it. I think my worries were mostly sociological, and how he's going to do the transition, and what do we need to do to support it.
My parents reacted sort of neutral at first when I came out, and then it evolved towards positive. I came out like a week before Thanksgiving in 2014. I went to their bedroom, and through tears, I just did my best to explain to them, because I knew they didn't really know what being trans was. They didn't really know what these concepts meant. So they, at first, were really shocked. It was really hard to process. Coming out was sort of a culmination of just being super uncomfortable for a really long time. And so my request was, I just need to cut my hair. And then after that, I won't ask for anything else regarding, all of this. In Indian communities and Indian American communities, there's a lot of expectations around gender and gender roles. And my coming out didn't really fit into any of those expectations. It felt to me, when I was in my community, that I was causing too much of like a disruption. I was taking too much attention and was making people pay attention to this thing they didn't really want to think about. So I didn't really feel like I fit.
So the changes that we noticed after Yvonne went through the transition, they were really profound. And he was a much happier person, and his relationship with us improved. His relationship with himself improved, in my opinion. He gained back his enthusiasm for life.
So even after coming out, I wasn't super comfortable being really open about my identity. So I was still pretty, secretive. But I was really lucky to have a super supportive family. And so my mom especially just really threw herself into being as supportive as she could be. My mom actually set that stage for me to really engage in my community after coming out.
The biggest assumptions that people make are based on their lack of knowledge, and I think the most important thing is that you can never assume anything. You can never assume you know someone's anatomy when you meet them in person. You just have to be open to any possibilities and allow them to educate you. That may or may not be appropriate in the given moment, but I think it's one of those things that we tend to not do as often as we should. Misconceptions around these issues can be dispelled with an open, thoughtful, and heartfelt conversation.
I really don't have any advice for other parents in my situation because each person's transition is unique and different. All I could do is support my child so he can be true to himself, and so support your child and love your child.
Having my friends and my family support me was basically the only support that I got about my identity growing up. If I hadn't gotten the support from my friends that I got back in 6th grade, I don't know if I would have made it to where I am now.